Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our PMLC Global Nexus podcast. We are now on episode 3, I believe. So, January, February, March, this will be episode number 3. So, good afternoon and welcome in, everyone, to today's segment. We're talking about AI compliance for PMOs, governance, risk controls, and audit readiness. And as you know, I have along with me my co-host here, Dr. Jimmy. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hello. We are back.
We are back. I was just briefing the audience to let them know that we are on podcast number 3. We've changed our segment naming convention from webinars to podcasts as we felt that was more appropriate. So you're going to hear us saying that as we go forward more so than anything else. And I was just sharing with them that we're on episode number 3, right? So this is exciting. And today we're talking about the AI compliance for PMOs, governance, risk controls, and audit readiness. So welcome in, Dr. Jimmy.
Welcome in, Dr. Susie, and welcome to everybody who's watching us. This is going to be very interesting, and I'm very excited for today's episodes.
Yeah, today is going to be a really good topic. So, Dr. Jimmy, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in and kind of set the foundation for us as we get ready to take off in this discussion. And again, as we said, we're talking about AI compliance for the PMOs, for governance, risk controls, and audit readiness on this fine evening. So we just want to, again, welcome our audience and thank you guys for attending our 3rd podcast. So as we know, let's go ahead and get into it. As artificial intelligence becomes more integrated in the way that we see organizations using it to plan, to execute, and to also monitor projects, we understand that project management offices, or PMOs, are being called to play a much bigger role in the realm of AI. So AI is no longer just a technology conversation, as you and I both know. It's now like a governance, risk, compliance, and accountability conversation that's pretty much strengthening over the course of time as we continue to go back and forth in many of our project meetings, the governance meetings that we're having, assessing risk, and especially around compliance. So from automated reporting and predictive analytics to generative AI tools that support planning and decision-making, the opportunities are becoming even more so significant, but so are the risks as we go along the way. So today we want to explore what this means for PMOs in practical terms, as we're going to continue to break those down for the audience. And how do we create the right governance structure for AI use across projects? So what risk controls should be in place to protect data, to also reduce bias and ensure human oversight? I want to underline, highlight, strike it all the way around any way we can, put the bells and the whistles around human oversight, because as you and I both know, many people have come and they've also shared their fears with AI, as it continues to progress in the different industries. So human oversight, we're going to be talking about that today as well, and how important that human oversight is in the processes related to compliance, risk, and governance. And mostly important, how do we prepare our organizations to be audit ready in an environment where transparency, documentation, and compliance are being essential? So those are some of the key questions that we're going to be answering for the audience today. So this segment is designed to help leaders at all levels within the organization, project professionals especially. That's our key audience that we really tune into, but all audiences are welcome, but especially our project professionals and the decision makers, within these different industries. We're going to help them to understand how to approach AI responsibly so that innovation can move forward with confidence, control, and trust. Now, before we jump in, I am also an educator. So I like to train and teach and let people know, like, hey, this is what we are and this is what we're talking about, right? So we have some acronyms that we're going to be using in our segment today. So I just wanted to level set and give us a really good foundation on what some of these things mean. So NIST, as you may know, and it's NIST, and it stands for the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It is a non-regulatory U.S. government agency within the Department of Commerce. And the purpose of NIST is to develop and maintain measurements, standards, and technology to drive innovation and safety in fields ranging from atomic clocks to cybersecurity. That's the first one, NIST, the NIST acronym, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Now, the second acronym that we want to introduce our audience to is the ISO IEC 42001:2023. So it stands for the International Organization for Standard, ISO, International Electrotechnical Commission, IEC, and Artificial Intelligence Management System Standard, the AIMS. So we especially want to pay attention to all these, the aims, right? All right, now the purpose of this is to provide a comprehensive framework for organizations to develop, deploy, and use AI systems, again, responsibly, ethically, and safely. All right, now the last one we have is the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act, and that's also known as the EU AI Act. So the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act. It is the world's first comprehensive horizontal legal framework designed to regulate the development, deployment, and use of artificial intelligence, or AI, within the 27 member states of the European Union. So the EU AI Act is to promote the uptake of human-centric and trustworthy AI while ensuring high levels of protection for health, safety, and fundamental rights such as privacy and non-discrimination against the harmful effects of AI systems. Now, I know that today is the day that we're on here, but I feel like I just had a full class with a virtual audience and my good friend. So we're going to move right into the first point. And we're looking at how PMOs can no longer treat AI as just another software tool. And I know that you have some really cool frameworks that we're going to get into, but they need a governance structure that defines ownership, approvals, acceptable use, and accountability. So for the first point, AI governance is now becoming more of a PMO responsibility. And the PMO must move from project oversight over to AI governance oversight. And for some people, I'm seeing that this shift in doing all of this is, for some, it's like, wow, this is so exciting. And then for others, it's like, what prompt? What do you mean? Put a who, right? So a prompt. Why do I need to do this again? Right? Can I just write out the business case and be done with this, right? So AI is no longer just a tech issue. PMOs now need to govern how AI is selected, how AI is approved, how it's used, and how it is also monitored across projects. And I'm just going to tone it down a little bit because I know we're getting a little bit more serious into this discussion. So coming from this timely angle, here is the major framework and regulations that we're pushing organizations to formalize in AI governance. And this is including the NIST, the AI risk management framework, which we're going to talk about that, the ISO IEC 42001 for AI management systems, and the EU AI Act, the rollout of it. So the EU AI Act's obligations have already started phasing, and they've started phasing in many ways that we can see them even here in the United States, including AI literacy and certain governance requirements, which makes this a live leadership issue for PMOs and not just a future one. Dr. Jimmy, what are some of the frameworks and other areas of regulation that you have to share with us today around that?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Susie. And thank you, of course, for this privilege to be here with you, really to talk to our audience. Before I get started, there are a couple of things I wanted to highlight. The first one, we are in March. I want to wish Happy History Month to all the ladies out there.
Thank you.
All the ladies, enjoy this month. And of course, it's always a privilege to have, to have all of our society involved when it comes to technology. And I know women in tech, it's something that does not, something that is slowing down according to the latest data we've seen. So I want to encourage all kids, boys and girls from middle school, start getting engaged with technology. We need all the different perspectives possible out there. So just wanted to take this time to wish all the ladies out there happy Women History Month.
Yes, and we have 2 history makers on this platform today as we speak, because we were the first 2 African American, male and female, to acquire all 3 PMO certifications within a year, correct?
Exactly.
So you are now seeing displayed before you 2 history makers in the realm of project management office in the project management industry. So Dr. Jimmy and I both became CAPMO certified, CBPMO certified, and Agile PMO consultant certified in less than 1 year. And we were the first 2 male and female African Americans to do that. And we are so very proud of that accomplishment. So I wish I had sound effects, but I just have to use my hands and praise the Lord.
Now, by the way, were we the first 2 in the United States of America even?
Yes, globally, in the world. Yes.
Exactly. So I probably
yes.
the first in Florida. I'll probably said I was the first on the West Coast. But this is to say we were the first, and we are breaking barriers. We are pretty much setting the stage for everything. On that note, I really want to set the stage also for AI to what we're going to talk about. Now, It may appear to be a little bit dry, folks. I want to say just buckle up and stay with us, because we have to start with the landscape that we are today. This is March 2026. When we talk about AI, we no longer talk about whether we should use AI. We now must talk about AI being governed. You will soon, I'm pretty sure by now, many of you in your organizations, they are telling you should not be using DeepSeek, you shouldn't be using Manus, you should not be using all those AI large language models that's out there, because we must provide some guidance, some guardrails. And I want to highlight, this is not about killing the very innovation that your PMO is trying to drive. It is making sure we limit the amount of risk. So whether you're managing a portfolio of internal AI tool that is pretty much that you've approved, and a lot of people are using a lot of AI tools, creating this AI, I'll call it the shadow AI projects of deploying high-risk agentic AI into your production. We have to move from the policy on paper to what I call operational defensibility. In other words, we're not just talking about that shall do, that shall not do. One of my principles has always been, I'd like to lead more from a preventive stance versus a punitive stance. If I can prevent somebody from doing something wrong, I protect the organization better, instead of telling somebody you did something wrong, then you're fired. So let's talk about the landscape right now of where we are 2026 when we're talking about AI. Last year, as Dr. Tuzi mentioned, the term EU AI Act. Last year, we saw a fundamental reset. Regulators, specifically in the EU AI Act, major 2026 enforcement milestone they put together. And we also saw the rebranded California Cal Privacy that have moved us from high-level principles, something that is pretty much theoretical, to enforceable rules. Now, the landscape of AI, mentioning those 2 different regulations, or I'll probably say oversight, we're talking about AI moving from what we used to, such as robotic process automation, computer vision, all those AI tools that we talked in the past, to what we're calling now agentic AI, chatbots. We're talking about systems that initiate workflows and that can make decisions. From a PMO perspective, this means now governing behavior, not just the model outputs. That's one. The landscape also, Dr. Susie, now has led to in the introduction of different positions. You have a chief privacy officer. You have chief trust officers. Many organizations have likely now seen those new roles emerge, bridging the gap between legal, engineering, and also the PMO. Mm-hmm. And you also have the enforcement reality. Now, what does that mean? We have seen several settlements. In the year 2025, you have student loan and property management cases where the AI made a mistake and was not an acceptable legal defense. You have AIs that talk about taking people's intellectual property. right? And people can use your information to write their own books. You've seen there are a lot of legal defenses, and you've seen AI. For instance, I don't want to mention the name of that vendor, where kids these days have interacted with AI, creating characters that have led to suicide, and you have those things going to court. I'm trying to talk about now the enforcement reality in the sense the landscape of AI has changed, and it required. Now we're not talking about should we use AI. We're talking about how do we put guardrails around this. Your question, Dr. Susie, was about the governance component. From a PMO perspective, I highly recommend every PMO leaders listening. Governance isn't just a hurdle; it is the structure that allows you to scale the adoption of AI in your organization. One of the tools I highly recommend, Dr. Susie mentioned, is the NIST. The NIST AI Risk Management Framework can help you begin. With Dr. Susie talk about what NIST stands for, so I'm going to tell you pretty much where you can find, where you can ground yourself in this. You have cybersecurity, you have privacy and AI governance, you have standards and measurements, you also have how do you support innovation through research and advancement. Now, I'm not going to tell you about all those NIST theories because your question will be, all right, I hear about NIST, you tell me the definition, so what? What do I do with it? As a PMO stakeholder, I would tell you there are 3 pillars that, from a governance perspective, you can have a PMO governance framework. The first one has to do with inventory. You must maintain an on-demand AI register, including internal builds, meaning developers within your own organization have created. You have SaaS, embedded AI. SaaS stands for software as a service, right? So when you purchase the software, it's hosted on a vendor website, a vendor location. Those softwares, many of them now are embedded with AI. As a matter of fact, it's rare for you not to get the software without AI embedded. So I talk about internal builds, SaaS embedded AI, and also the API link tools. API, it's additional tools that you can, those are connectors for you to bring all the tools within your environment so you can run activities. So the first set, it will be inventory. The second set, I would probably say, is classification. Use a risk-based tiering system. You can have unacceptable, you can have high, you can have limited, you can have minimal. Determine also the heavy lift of compliance. Some tools, some AI tools they're not really AI tools per se. They are SaaS solution with AI-enabled tools. They're dumb. They don't do much, right? They just pretty much recap what you say. They don't generate anything. But some other tools, as from our past episode, we showed you how you can create agents. They are very more invasive. So you have to create a tier-based tiering system to know what to allow in your environment, what not to allow in your environment. And last but not least, so I talk about inventory. Inventory, make sure you know what's in your organization. I talk about classification. Make sure you tier based on risk, where those tools fit. And the last one is ownership. There has to be a single accountable executive for your AI system. That remove the trouble knowledge ownership. And what does that do also? That helps you create accountability. So your AI officer definitely should know any AI tools that's in your environment. You cannot be running AI models here and there, and there's nobody to be held accountable knowing what system they're using. So, Dr. Susie, that's probably the easiest way I can put it when we talk about governance. So, for me to summarize, there is a framework already in place, NIST, AI Risk Management Framework. It's a good way to start. NIST plays a central role in cybersecurity, privacy, AI governance, standards and measurement, and also many industry competitiveness. Meaning, some industry use AI. You can take, for instance, government leveraging AI to do what government does that we don't have clearance, versus AI in retail, versus AI of you using it at home. So there are different industry, different competitiveness. And the framework I mentioned to you has to do with inventory, know what's in your environment, classification based on have a risk based steering system, so you know what's good, what's bad, and also ownership. Somebody must be accountable of this thing in your organization.
Yeah, I was just trying to pop these up on the screen as you were talking through them. So we'll start with this one. The last mention was inventory, classification, and ownership. Right, so we got those three categories. We also touched on NIST, the National Institute of Standard and Technology.
Yeah.
All right, and then we also touched on the European Union of Artificial Intelligence Act. All right, so I am so excited because I'm so glad you mentioned, hey, when we were using those agentic agents, right? And we went back and created those, and that was so fun. And that helped us within PMLC, PCG to begin to set some standards and utilization of AI and how we wanted to implement that within our own workflow, right? So I am happy to announce it was successfully implemented, and I thank you very much. All right. And with that being said, almost all of my staff have an AI agent that they will be using as their companion. And I am happy to also announce that no one was replaced. How about that? So my point in saying this is that if done correctly, we can eliminate or begin to at least try to eliminate some of the fear. Now, is this going to be the reality in every industry that we face? We already know that the answer to that is no. And I believe that diligently, we've been saying that across the board and keeping everything above par and our honesty and integrity, delivering messages to our audience, allowing them to know that human in the loop is very important. But it depends on how you assert yourself to be that human in the loop. And that's going to come from education, as we know. It's going to come from training, as we know. It's going to come from experience. And as you mentioned, we have the different roles and the functions that are now being reviewed, such as the Chief Information AI Officer, right? We've got the data privacy people that are coming into, organizations. And these roles and functions that organizations are building around, of course, yes, some of them are going to be some pretty big roles, but we also have roles at the execution level. And that's what I just wanted to kind of mention before we go into risk controls as our next topic. And that is that there are specific execution roles in addition to decision-making roles that our audience can get involved in even now. We know that the PMBOK 8 also includes much talk about AI as we're kind of going through learning more about the new content that's coming out in April, as well as AI product management. So that's the new one that has just recently rolled out as well, where we have, Coursera. There are different organizations that are offering AI product management certifications for those types of positions. You're going to have more branded names such as AI Project Manager. I've seen some of those out there on the job boards as well. So our industry is really embracing AI, but it matters. It really does matter how we address ourselves as the human that will be that person in the loop to close some of these gaps as we continue to learn and mature and utilizing AI across the board. So with that, every AI project must also have what we call risk controls, right? And we know this because risk controls must be built into every AI-enabled project, especially around data, around the bias, and the human oversight. And I want to keep drilling that in. Learn, learn, learn. Go get yourself educated on where we are. Get a certification. Make sure that it is around the embodiment of AI in some sort, some way, shape, form, or fashion, because this is the direction that we're going. One of the biggest current AI topics is trustworthy AI. And that's what we're talking about. Can the organization explain what the AI is doing, protect sensitive data, and prevent harmful or misleading outputs? And that was some of the points that you touched on just now. This matters because for PMOs, project teams are increasingly using generative AI for planning. They're using it for reporting, decision-making, documentation, and automation. And some of the standards that we notice, especially the ISO IEC AIMS 42001, emphasizes the structured risk management and the continuous improvement While NIST's approach, they focus more on the mapping, the measuring, and the managing of AI risk across the life cycle. So what this means for PMOs, this should require controls such as data classification, approved tool list. What does that look like? You just talked about taking inventory, correct? So in that inventory, what tools have you approved for your organization to use? And when it comes down to the gist of AI, human review checkpoints. Where are you building the human in the loop in your processes within the PMO? So you may have to go back and look at some of your policies, the procedures, even your documentation, and figure out where some of those gate maps are, the checkpoints that you're actually using AI, what is determined or defined as being acceptable or approved or not. And then model the vendor due diligence across the board. That's logging and documenting, exception handling as we continue to move forward in our process improvement. So the real question, Dr. Jimmy, is not whether teams are using AI. It's whether the PMO has controls in place to make it safe, as well as explainable and compliant, right? What do you think about it?
Yeah, this is a good segue, Dr. Susie, because let's think this through for a second. We're asking people to go ahead and leverage AI. And what is the PMO role? The PMO has different roles. It can be there to a supportive role. It can be in a controlling role. The PMO can also be in a role at the project level, at the program level, at the portfolio level, at the organization level. The PMO can insert itself pretty much anywhere. I remember when generative AI first started, I was using a lot of tools, and those tools come up with what I would say they have the minute takers, if you will, those AI agents that can take minutes for you. And these are called bots. So you can have a bot to sign up for a bot, attach it to the meeting. It will take meeting minutes for you. But it comes to a point, I was hosting a meeting. I had 5 people sending the bots to the meeting, and nobody was there, showed up, because everybody sent their bots.
You know what? This is why we had to name this a podcast, this reason right here.
Exactly. So whatever you're hearing through my accent, I'll let you come up with your own conclusion.
Come on.
Everybody keep themselves at home and send the bots. and send the bots to the meeting. And I'm like, I'm having a meeting with a bunch of non-participant with a bunch of non-participatory people. I'm like, not people, objects or bots. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? I cannot have the meeting because nobody was present. What was happening? Everybody thought everybody was going to show up, and they sent this automated tool to go take notes for them. And at the end of the day, nobody was at the meeting. Why am I saying this? It is interesting as we are telling people to use those AI tools. What's happening? You have the business component that do not master in project management, leveraging generative AI to fill out business requirements, project scope, project charter, and so on and so forth, and send it to the project manager that most likely will use generative AI to assess the validity of the document and did not even read it and submit it to the PMO. And the PMO using also another generative tool to audit what the project manager audits of what the business created. So at the end of the day, there's really nobody in the loop. We say there's somebody in the loop, but there is really nobody in the loop. Now, I want to bring this because as the PMO, yes, you can create agents based on your rules that can focus on that. But now the question is, you have a lot of documentation that are well written. However, nobody's reading and the value is not there. So by having human in the loop by design, we call it HITL. That is for high risk decision, hiring, credit, resource allocation. Your project plans must include a stop button functionality and documented override protocols. What does that mean? Think about it this way. An agency AI is responsible, for instance, to hire for a position that you have for hiring. The AI pretty much screen all applicants and provided based on their resumes, based on the role that you have, probably one person to hire. What I would say is, instead of having it done that way, have the AI pretty much come up with 3 candidates. That makes the requirements better. Then the next step is for you to take this further by interviewing those candidates, and you make the final decision. So if you were to take agentic AI that is responsible for reallocating server resources, right? You must have a mandatory review process where there's a system administrator that will go ahead and review what the AI does and press deploy before the tool does it. Now, this probably be different because we're so used with what we call robotic process automation. In other words, for operations, things that go through that we do so many times, then it's pretty much automated. Those are not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about decisions that have impact on people. The other thing, there are 2 other things. The next one, Dr. Suzy, is what I call the explainability AI, or we call it the XAI. Under the Article 86 of the EU AI Act, individuals have a right to an explanation. So your PMO must ensure that whatever black box you've decided to adopt, they're not deployed for significant user-facing decisions. I repeat, according to under the Article 86 of the EU AI Act, I know we are in America, we may say, we're in America, we don't live by those rules, but those rules are best practices. So I am mentioning those not necessarily for compliance rigidity, but for awareness of best practices. Individuals have a right to an explanation. Your PMO must ensure that whatever black box they implement, that model is not deployed for significant user-facing decision. Now, it may be easy for you if you're the one doing it, but think of also you being on the other hand, receiving the decision of that AI. As a matter of fact, I believe there is a movie out there, I forgot the name of it, where the AI is the judge, and the person that trained the AI to be the judge happened to be on the receiving end of the AI judgment. The last one I want to mention when it comes to risk controls has to do with continuous monitoring, what I call AI security posture management. Now, traditional annual audits are too slow. We can all imagine. I'm going to name some vendors here. This is not endorsement whatsoever. When I'm looking at ChatGPT, the rate that ChatGPT evolved from, I don't even remember. Do you recall what version of ChatGPT we're on right now?
I think isn't it 5.2?
5.2. I think I stopped using it when it was like 4 point something. But regardless, when I'm looking at Gemini, that's now in 3 point something. When I'm looking at Copilot, or when I'm looking at Claude, and when I'm hearing Perplexity, all those tools have evolved so much within a year. So the traditional annual audits, it's too slow. You have to implement what we call an AI security posture management, short for AI SPM, to catch bad actors. Bad actors in terms of prompt injections, model drift, jailbreak, and and so on and so forth. And there's even a better thing that I like to mention. I always ask this question: if an auditor will come to talk to you and say, ask a question about your AI, can you provide that answer within 4-hour time frame? The 4-hour rule for me is what help in terms of making sure not only you have your risk control in place, but also we can audit this thing as well. So I yield it to you, Dr. Susan.
Yeah, the first thing I want to do is I want to correct that. I want to go look it up. So the current version is ChatGPT 5.4.
5.4.
So, yeah, I'm 0.2 decimals behind. But anyhow.
You make my point. This thing goes so fast. There it is.
Yeah, we're at 5.4. All right. So in looking at that, I just want to mention in the audit readiness, it's becoming the differentiator between organizations that actually experiment with AI and those that can actually defend the work that they do with the AI. So a major theme in AI compliance is proof, which is what you just kind of led us into. And that's where regulators, auditors, clients, and internal assurance teams, they increasingly want the evidence AI uses, and that the governance, the processes that we have in place is responsibly being used across the organization, especially within the PMO. So that includes documented use cases, risk ratings, approval records, control testing, training, and monitoring logs. The risk monitoring log, the issue monitoring log, the monitoring logs around how PMO governance is actually being tracked, how we're actually using AI in these different categories within the PMO. So the recent FTC actions and guidance also reinforces that organizations can face scrutiny when AI-related claims are misleading and also unsupported. So this is a reminder that PMOs need defensible documentation and not just enthusiasm for innovation. Otherwise, we'll have a lot of bots in the room. Okay, for those that did not understand, he was saying bots, B-O-T-S, bots.
Because they were in lack of but. Oh, butts. Oh.
But so we will not be trying to get to that level of having lots of bots in the room. But we want to be responsible and showcase that responsibility in our audit readiness. So this is the newest test of our AI maturity. And speaking of maturity, I just want to throw up on the screen here that yours truly, my company, PCG, PMLC Consulting Group, we invite you to schedule with us to do a PMO maturity assessment where we move your PMO to the next level. So if your project management office is performing at its best, or if you want to realize if it's performing at its best or not, you can gain insights into PMO strengths and areas for improvement. Also pinpoint strategic opportunities for enhancing PMO value. Develop a clear roadmap for PMO excellence. Align your PMO with organizational goals. Please reach out to us. We assess governance and processes, project methodologies, resource management, as well as performance metrics, which also include our topic of today, AI. All right, so you can book a meeting with us via www.pmlcglobal.us, and you can schedule your assessment with us now. This is something that you do not want to wait for, and yours truly will be conducting those assessments along with my team. So you want to reach out to us so that we can help to strengthen your organization. But starting with a PMO maturity assessment, the door is open, the calendar is waiting for you. So get your spot today. Do not delay. All right, Dr. Jimmy. So as we're talking about this, one question that comes to me and I'm going to hear your answer on is, if an auditor were to ask, show me how this AI tool was approved, monitored, and controlled, could your PMO produce that evidence quickly? Not your PMO specifically, but in terms of how could a PMO produce that evidence quickly for an auditor if they were asked that question?
Yes, great question. And I have what I have put in practice is what I call the 4-hour rule. And I always maintain with clients that we've done some coaching. By the way, to Dr. Susie's point, if you have any coaching needs in terms of your leadership goal setting, please feel free to reach out to us at www.globalcomposshub.com. What we put in place is a set of practices and processes. I like to call them systems. And that way you don't get overwhelmed. And the 4-hour rule, what the PMO can do, instead of waiting for a regulator or an auditor to knock at your door to say, can you produce a defensive trail within your organization? I would say there are 4 components you can work on, and you should have those things at your fingertip, to the point that you can press a button and you can have access to those. The first one is what I call decision traceability. Log why a decision was made, not just what the output was. Log why a decision was made, not just what the output was. Let me provide you an example. I shared this the last time where I was working on an agent, developing a new model, and have it pretty much closed in my computer, disconnected from the internet. I have access pretty much. I downloaded the model. I was doing some experiment with it. So I took my personal financials and put it in the model, removed all my I call it confidential data, and then put it in one folder. And I asked, and I was so the why here was I wanted the tool to interact with that folder. The output was the tool interacted with all the folders in my computer. Now, somebody may say it was my fault. I did not segregate the folder very well. No, I did, and I double checked. Somehow, somewhere, the tool get into the root C of my computer, and everything was for grabs, and he has access to everything. Now, the good news is the question that I asked that made me realize this, the answer was accurate. So accurate, I said, no, the answer should not be that because I did not have those files into that folder. But this thing did have access to it. So that's number one, decision traceability. Number two is what we call data lineage. Document training data sourcing. Is it representative? Have you checked for bias in terms of gender, age, and race? Document training data sourcing. Now, keep in mind, if you were to download the model, you feed it with data, meaning it is disconnected from the internet, what you're gonna have is the simple notion garbage in, garbage out. If your data is biased, your answer is going to be biased, right? So now bias in this sense, you're talking about the sampling of data. So the logic could be right. It's just the data is biased to begin with. So I talk about decision traceability, log why a decision was made, not just what the output was. You have data lineage, document training source, so data sourcing. Number three is what I call the red team results. Now, not all organizations have this. Pretty much, this is where you try to make the tool do something that you did not design it for. And many organizations, they have the call red teams. The red teams pretty much, they keep record of adversarial testing. How did the system react to malicious prompts? You have that when you get into the hacking world, but a red team results is important. Meaning, if you try to make the tool do something it was not designed to do, were you successful or not? The last one is what I call the third-party due diligence. Why? You are interacting with a lot of SaaS applications, a lot of vendor applications. So if you're using a vendor AI, do you have their information? Can you audit their information? Do you know if they're taking your information for training? There's a tool for that. It's called a model cards, and also the right to audit. If you're dealing with vendor, with third-party, the third party, you need to ask them for their model card. So you may ask me, what is an AI model card? An AI model card tells you exactly what the tool is doing, its purpose, out of scope uses, training data, performance metrics, limitations, ethical considerations, recommendations. And you must use model cards for that. You can enhance transparency, support your governance system, improve fairness, enabling accountability. Now, I mentioned 4 components, right? So here's the deal. I mentioned those to tell you, you must have those ready in case somebody come and ask you. However, my challenge to you, PMO, is for you to be that someone. You can work with the business, you can work with your team to implement the 4-hour rule for them to provide you with decision traceability, data lineage, red team results, and third-party due diligence via the AI model cards. I hope this helps, Dr. Susie.
It does. And I captured some of those notes as a reminder for our PMOs and PMO decision makers as well. And I do want to also remind them that you are a phenomenal speaker, right? So if they want to reach out to you let me go ahead and hide this one so we can get your information up here. For any business organization leadership, discussions for coaching as well as some training, they may reach out to you directly, and your contact information is streaming across the bottom of the screen. So you can contact Dr. Jimmy on LinkedIn as well as YouTube, as well as email. And his website, again, is globalcompass.hub. Is that correct, Dr. Jimmy?
globalcompasshub.com.
globalcompasshub.com.
Thank you, Dr. Susie. Yes, if you have any need for your organization, we do a lot of leadership training. We do a lot of leadership coaching. We do a lot of staff webinar, workshops, keynote presentation for your retreat. And the AI thing is brand new. If you really want to demystify AI, to bring it down to the level of understanding that anybody can understand, so you can have what I call adoption into your organization, please reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to schedule some time, consultation and then implementation with you.
Awesome. And again, for those that may be interested in our PMO maturity assessment, we invite you to schedule a consultation with us. You can reach PMLC Consulting Group, www.pmlcglobal.us, or you can give us a call, 888-358-3949, and we will be waiting to hear from you so that we can schedule that PMO maturity assessment. What we assess, again, everything from governance all the way through performance metrics for your PMO. In addition to that, we do offer training with the Project Management Learning Center. So if you're interested in training, that could be project management training. It can be the project management office certification trainings that we talked about, because you are looking at two historical figures on your screen. Okay. That are certified in the CAPMO, the CBPMO, and the Agile PMO consultants. So you can certainly reach out to either one of us for those types of certifications through the PMO. And the services that we offer are located on our website at www.pmlearningcenter.com, or you can give us a call there at 858-333-5568, or drop us a note at training@pmlearningcenter.com. I just want to highlight some of the acronyms again that we use today. I always like to go back and recap. So we talked today about the European Artificial Intelligence Act. That's the EU AI Act. The other one is the International Organization for Standardization, the ISO, International Electrotechnical Commission, the IEC, 42001. And then the Artificial Intelligence Management System, the AIM standard. All right. We also talked about the National Institute of Standards and Technology, the NIST. Dr. Jimmy dropped some points today about inventory classification and ownership. We also talked about human in the loop and the XAI under 86 of EU AI Act. All right, Dr. Jimmy also gave us 4 points today: decision traceability, data lineage, document training, data sourcing, the red team's results, and the model cards for AI. We had a really good session today. This was a great podcast, correct?
Indeed, definitely.
I am so excited for us for this year. So if you guys are interested again in our PMO maturity assessments, you can reach out to us if you're interested in training. And especially if you are interested in having my dear co-host to come and speak at your organization, we would be thrilled for you to book him and have major discussion and fun with him across the board for his business coaching and leadership training. So with that being said, Dr. Jimmy, I want to wish the audience, I'm wearing green, so I know some people celebrate St. Patrick's Day too, and that's coming up this week. We gave a salute to all of the wonderful women across the globe for Women's History Month, this month of March. And we also celebrated the International Women's Day on March 8th, which was a thrill to do. And I'm just very excited for what the rest of this year may bring. Dr. Jimmy, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you before we say goodnight.
Yeah, no, I join you in the celebration of St. Patrick's Day. I could not wear green, otherwise I would have blended. And my
you got your background.
Yeah, my background is celebrating St. Patrick's. Now, and of course, Women's History Month. And my statement will be to everybody who's listening: it is we are at a this is not any revolution we have seen before. And I probably will be the first one, and we're already seeing results. At the beginning, I champion AI with the amount of work it will help us save for us to be human and less being grounded into the hard work, which is the goal of the fifth industrial revolution. The numbers that are coming today are showing the opposite, where because of AI now people are working harder. People are working harder, being careful. People now are not learning much because they're letting the AI do much of the things for them. And instead of taking that time to assign it to things that are more important, we're seeing the time is assigned to doing more mundane work. So in other words, the thing it will take you 1 hour to do, it takes you 15 minutes to do, but the 45 minutes, you just add more to it versus taking yourself away from it. So I want to caution everybody. The reason we put this podcast together is to help you increase your knowledge. AI is not going to go anywhere. We are being transformed into a new reality, which everybody must adopt. You must adapt, and you must adopt it and adapt to it. And as we leave, please be mindful that you must focus on your well-being and do not let it's all about work. Learn about AI so you can use it the right way, so you don't find yourself caught up in a rabbit hole and a rat race to no end. Your health matters. Your family matters. Pay attention to those and get rooted in them.
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking we went from dial-up to hardwire to Wi-Fi, and now we're on AI. So here we go. Buckle up. Enjoy the ride. We'll see you all next month. Thank you guys for tuning in.
See ya.
Bye-bye.